welcome everybody back to another episode of the Transdiscipline, your go-to podcast for transgender history. As always, I am your host, Mari, and it is an absolute pleasure to be back here with you all on this fine Sunday. Happy Black Pride to the people in Atlanta. I've been busy working my ass off. Oh, I might have to beat that out. Sorry to the kiddies. I don't like to curse on the podcast. But I've been working very hard for the past couple of days, y'all. It has been a very, very busy week. 5 events, 5 parties, 2 birthdays. That isn't included in none of that. So it's just been overwhelming, plus work too as well. It's very overwhelming, very overwhelming. Well, I've been trying to enjoy every single second of it. I love Atlanta. Let's just say that. I love Atlanta. The Black queer scene has always been very open and lovely to me. I've met some fantastic people along the way, and I'm saying this because for me personally, my experience with the Black queer community in Atlanta has been always accepting, loving, and a very good time. And I think that's really kind of what got me into my activism today, just because I've had a really good time here, just learning and growing and chatting. Being able to be in the same spaces with some very influential members of the Black queer community as well has always, put a smile on my face for one, but taught me so much when it comes to social justice activism as well. So I just want to shout out to all of my friends, colleagues, business partners, acquaintances that I work alongside with, have worked alongside with, for putting me into the game, for teaching me everything that I know, for continuing to fight for Black queer rights as well as we go further and further into the next century and decades. Just thank you all so much for the service and work that you do to make our lives, happy, authentic, and a reality. Shout out to my favorite party groups. Party promoters, I guess. Shout out to all ATL and Queers and Beers in Atlanta. If you've never been to either one of these events that they run, highly recommend it. It's a very fun Black gay time. You're gonna have a good time. You're gonna dance. You're gonna have some good alcohol if you do decide to drink. If not, they got water, of course. But it's always a good time when I go to these parties. These are parties that people that I do know run. So it does make it a lot fun to be with people that I'm with on a consistent basis, or even if it's every blue moon, I still just have a good time with them. So shout out to both of those organizations, groups. I don't know if you call them party promoters. But shout out to them and their amazing parties for getting me through the week as well. Let me lay back a little bit and have a good time with my peoples. But yeah, so it's just been a lot, but I've been having a good time. So like I said, shout out to the city of Atlanta. Shout out to the Black gays, queers, for everything, just life, just having a good time. So before I get to today's episode, as I always like to do, I like to welcome my listeners. So shout out to all of my new listeners here today. If this is your first time here, welcome. And I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Just to give you a heads up, our podcast is not just about history, but it also serves as a platform for education. We really want to provide you insights into transgender history and also the issues faced by the transgender community as well. My goal is to aim to inspire understanding, promote inclusivity, and to continue to spark conversations surrounding the transgender community by sharing you this knowledge and resources for further learning. Each episode of our podcast is intentionally designed to be concise yet comprehensive, with a duration of about 15 to 20 minutes, just to give you something to start with, of course. I don't want to give you all the information. One of me is just to spark that for you. And on your own time, just continue to learn more along the way. Right? So thank you so much for coming out today to listen to this podcast. And I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, family, whoever may be interested as well. To all my returning listeners, thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast. It means so much to me to have you all here, to continue to support, having the analytics go up, the metrics go up, the subscribe count go up, and to continue to write amazing reviews on both Apple, Spotify, or whatever streaming platform you're currently listening to this podcast on. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much. All right. Enough of me ranting about my gay time in Atlanta. Let's get to today's content, right? Today, I'm inviting you all on an extraordinary journey through time and social change as we unravel the remarkable story of Vanguard, which is a truly revolutionary organization that not only influenced LGBTQ plus rights, but also left a mark on transgender history as well. We'll be diving into the inception of Vanguard, its revolutionary approach, and the profound influence it has had on the transgender community and beyond. So let's get into it. Vanguard emerged around the 1965-1966, depending on what you're reading, really as a beacon of hope for homeless gay youth in San Francisco's Tenderloin district. It was founded by three individuals. Mainly, you may hear Adrian, and I'm gonna say his last name wrong again because it's pronounced not weird. With my terrible dialect, I would like to just make sure I'm pronouncing it perfectly. Ravaror. You may also see names like Jewel Williams and Billy Garrison as well, depending on where you may find your research. But you'll see Adrian's name a little bit more in some of these research biographies at the Transgender Archives at Victoria, or in the Transgender History by Susan Stryker. It all depends on where you go to get the information, but you may see these three names appear throughout that research. These three individuals provided these youth really a sense of community and purpose, right? They organized protests, community events, and also published personal written pieces really about different identities and experiences within the community in their self-published Vanguard magazine. Now, what set really Vanguard apart and made it really truly groundbreaking was its status as the first gay and transgender youth organization actually in the United States, right? Which wholeheartedly embraced and celebrated non-normative queer identities, which, like I said, when you put both those terms together, it's really the same thing, right? Kind of redundant with that. Should have probably written that out the script. Now, this radical stance positioned Vanguard really as a very fierce advocate for most marginalized members of the LGBTQ plus community, giving voice to those who have been silenced for a very long time, right? Especially in the 1960s. So really, the birth of Vanguard was a direct response to the harsh and often cruel realities faced by queer youth in the 1960s. Many of these younger individuals, for example, you may see the name Jewel Roberts pretty often in some of these history or bios about the Vanguard, was the individual who found themselves cast out and disinherited upon coming out to their family, right? Really thrust into the unforgiving streets of the Tenderloin, where they were surrounded by the world of drugs, crime, sex work, and relentless police brutality. And in this bleak landscape, really Vanguard emerged as a lifeline to offer a sense of belonging and purpose and community to those who had been abandoned by society really at large. And Vanguard's approach was as unique as it was impactful, right? The organization didn't just talk about change, it actively worked to create it. They organized bold protests that caught the public's attention, fostered community through vibrant events, and gave voice to their experiences through their self-published, like I said, Vanguard magazine from earlier. And one of the most remarkable and memorable actions was the ingenious street sweep protest. In an impactful and powerful act of reclamation, Vanguard members marched down Market Street, pushing brooms and brandishing signs that read "All trash before the brooms." Now, this clever, visually striking demonstration was a direct change to dehumanizing police sweeps that routinely targeted street youth. Now, the impact of Vanguard on transgender history cannot be overstated. Even in the term Transgender wasn't a part of the common vernacular at the time. Vernacular at the time. Let's see, by dialect. By celebrating non-normative queer identities, Vanguard created a safe space for individuals who we would today recognize as transgender. Now, their advocacy for the most marginalized members of the LGBTQ plus community inherently introduced those facing the intersectional oppression often experienced by transgender individuals, those who are considered to be Black and gay, a person of color and gay, et cetera, et cetera. And Vanguard's efforts were transformative, particularly in their collaboration with Glide Memorial Methodist Church, which I will mention probably in another episode as well. It's probably one of my topics in Q. This organization, or this alliance, opened the eyes of the pastoral community to the realities faced by queer youth. Most importantly, provided Vanguard with a platform to confront police and political leaders really more effectively. Now, through this partnership, Vanguard raised crucial awareness about the unique challenges and experiences of queer street youth, including those we would now identify as transgender. Try to get that out. Now, what truly set Vanguard apart was this radical departure from the strategies employed really by other, what you may see as homophile organizations, but I like to say, LGBTQ plus organizations, really of that era, right? While groups like the Society for Individual Rights, or SIR, SIR, you may also see the daughters of, and I'm probably going to botch this too, so I want to make sure that I say it right. Let me get my Google Translate up. Bilitis, or that also went by DOB at the time, I believe, really had adapted what many people may call assimilationist approaches, right? Vanguard boldly charted really a different course. And they refused to conform to heteronormative standards and instead celebrate their differences openly and unapologetically. And this revolutionary stance challenged society to accept them as they were, rather than demanding that they change to fit societal norms. Now, you may see, or you may hear technically, some organizations that are part of the LGBTQ plus community obviously have different approaches, right, in order to gain recognition, to assist those within their organization, to better the members' well-being, health, and et cetera, et cetera. So during the 1960s, it was a different approach that most people did take, just to make sure that they were seen, and a lot of people really wanted more change. So that's where kind of Vanguard was in that stance of really challenging society to say, like, hey, this is us, this is how we're going to be, take it or leave it, And this approach was particularly crucial, really, for transgender individuals who often found themselves really marginalized, even within the broader LGBTQ plus community. So, Vanguard leader Jean-Paul Marat's reference to their members as the other 1% of homosexuals in the country, and that's a quote unquote, I should have said that ahead of time, excluded from mainstream gay communities, underscores the organization's commitment to true inclusivity. Now, by embracing and celebrating difference, Vanguard really laid the groundwork for future transgender activism, creating really a model of acceptance that would inspire generations to come. Now, although Vanguard's official existence was relatively brief, its impact was both immediate and also long-lasting. Right? The organization achieved tangible goals that improved the lives of street youth, including those who identified as transgender, which is a prime example, is their success campaign for the designation of the Central City as an anti-poverty district. Now, this victory had led to crucial federal funding for services that were vital to street youth, providing the resources and support to some of society's most vulnerable members. Now, the legacy of Vanguard continues to resonate and inspire marginalized queer youth in the Tenderloin district today. The latest in 2011, a project called Vanguard Revisited, spearheaded by historian Joy Plaster, breathed new life into Vanguard's spirit. This initiative created Vanguard's iconic street seat protest and revived the tradition of the Vanguard magazine. By engaging contemporary queer youth with their history, Vanguard Revisited allowed for a new generation to connect with their roots and continue Vanguard's legacy of unapologetic queerness and advocacy for the most marginalized members of society. Now, I believe, and I'm about to confirm this for y'all really quick that the Los Angeles LGBTQ plus Center has a Welcome to Vanguard kind of like the magazine, obviously, but in a digital form. So if you go on the Los Angeles LGBTQ plus Center website, go to Get Informed. There will be a choice for Vanguard. That's where you can find more information, kind of in that kind of revisited revamp of Vanguard's legacy on their site. Now, the passage describes Vanguard really. All these passages that I read, the articles that I read describes Vanguard organization, like I said, as its self-description that Vanguard actually uses as an organization of, by, and for the kids on the street. You actually see that in quotations in most of the articles and passages that I have read. Obviously, its goals was to promote self-worth, offer support, raise awareness for youth issues, and assert really presence into the neighborhoods around them. The group's approach of treating the streets as their home, cleaning it up and intervening, really in those weird, inappropriate behaviors that you normally may see as well. And one big thing that I want to highlight is that Vanguard's first major political action was actually confronting Compton's cafeteria over its treatment of transgender youth. Now, I did do a episode on Compton's cafeteria, right? Let me confirm. My gut is telling me yes. It's been 6 seasons, y'all. So I gotta bear with me. But I believe I'm accurate on that part of me doing a Compton cafeteria episode. If I have not done it yet, I will absolutely make sure that I do it. Maybe I didn't. Oh, well, I kind of mentioned it, but I didn't give it its own episode. If you look back at what episode is this? Season 1, episode 4. I did Significant Rise Before Stonewall. This is at every time I have on my audio to mind you, so it might not be as good as the most recent episodes. But I did kind of mention Compton Cafeteria in that episode very briefly. So you can go check it out. I might do a separate one actually too as well. Just to talk about that. And then of course, Vanguard, like I said, really is just being that notable first gay transgender youth in the United States, has had a significant impact on what we see today. So in conclusion, Vanguard's impact on transgender history and the broader LGBTQ plus movement is profound and also far-reaching. By fearlessly celebrating non-normative identities, advocating for the most marginalized and challenging societal norms, Vanguard played a pivotal role in paving the way for greater acceptance and understanding of transgender individuals. And their legacy serves, like I said, as a beacon of hope and a call to action, continuing to inspire activism and advocacy for transgender rights in the present day today. So, to wrap up, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for listening to today's episode. It is a pleasure to always kind of just have you all here to check out these episodes. I will be releasing out very soon via newsletter. So if you haven't signed up, check out this episode's description. You can find a link there to get some feedback actually from my listeners on what you all would like to get more out of this podcast, just some general feedback. I love to just make sure that I get the audience opinions just so I can make this podcast as great as I possibly can. So I'll be sending out my newsletter. You can find a link in the episode description below or to the right, left, or top. I'm not really sure. Like I said, it depends on the streaming platform. Like I said, thank you all for listening. If you have not done so yet, please subscribe, follow, whatever buttons that you need to use to get the notifications for this podcast. You can follow us on social media at the Trans Lesson Plan on Instagram and Twitter as well. If you want to follow me, the host, totally up to you, optional. You can follow me at mariiiwrld. That is MAR3IWRLD. Don't forget to tell a family, friends, allies, social media if you want to. It really doesn't matter to me. It's totally up to y'all. About this podcast so we can get more people to join in and have a good time here. But I just thank you all so much for listening today. Have a good time. If you are still in Atlanta for Black Pride, be safe. And if you see me, say hi. I'm nice. But thank you all so much. I cannot wait to see you all next week as we continue this journey going down transgender history. So peace.